Join us, the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast, on a journey where we delve into the heart of the matters that truly make a difference. Our mission is to create a platform where we can openly discuss topics that often go unnoticed or unexplored. We aim to shed light on these crucial issues and have meaningful conversations. We invite you to tune into our podcast, where we will explore the depths of these subjects and let our hearts guide the conversation. Together, we can create a space where everyone's voice is heard and where we can collectively work towards a better future. Welcome, everyone, to the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. I am your host, Nia Imani, and I have the pleasure of interviewing somebody you've probably seen all over. And I'm so glad she has blessed us with her presence. The only one, Benzii Diaz. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Boo. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
What's up, people?
She has so much positive energy. And this is, Benzii is the definition of never judge a book by its cover. You never know anybody's story, right? Whew.
Facts. Big facts.
So, yeah. So in honor of, so January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
You would never know this beautiful woman in front of you is a survivor.
Yes.
We're going to
Unfortunately.
Right. I'm gonna read her bio, and then we're just gonna jump right into it because she has a story that nobody in the world has. So we need to know more. My girl Benzii is a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur, advocate, and community leader whose journey of resilience has made her a powerful voice for change. A survivor of sex trafficking, Benzii escaped her hometown at just the age of 17 years old and rebuilt her life from the ground up, earning a full scholarship to college and turning her pain into purpose. Today, she is the founder of one of the leading personal training businesses in Philadelphia that I know, and a nonprofit organization that has already serviced nearly 2,000 girls and women in under 2 years, providing resources, advocacy, and education for survivors of trafficking in underserved communities. We're not done, y'all. Beyond her personal training business and nonprofit, she is a serial entrepreneur. She probably drinking one of her drinks now. She also owns a meal prep company, a juice brand, and a sports rehab and recovery company. I can't even get it out so much. All of which reflect her passion for wellness and empowering others to live healthier, stronger lives. She is also another hat, y'all, a sports performance model, using her platform not only to showcase her strength and beauty, but to break stigmas in the fitness industry for women who have come from all walks of life, proving that strength is as diverse as the stories behind it. Y'all, hold on, let me. With all
Thank you.
No, we're not done because we're going to read all this. With all her ventures and impact, she is well on her way to being a booming entrepreneur before the age of 30.
Getting old.
Before, I had to bring it up, before the age of 30. In addition, here's another hat, y'all. She is nationally recognized. She is a nationally recognized speaker known for bridging communities and legislation together to eradicate sex trafficking in the US of A. She has spoken at state capitals, city halls, and national conferences, sharing her powerful story and advocating for systemic change. Her mission to empower individuals to reclaim their strength, embrace their full potential, and create positive change in their communities. Whether she's speaking, coaching, leading her businesses, or modeling, as y'all can see, she is passionate about helping others rise above adversity and live with the purpose. I'm hot. I'm about to take off this hat. Benzii.
Doctor, sorry, Dr. Nia.
Try Jesus, not me. Girl, no, seriously, Benzii, like, let's just jump into it. How
Okay.
in the world did you end up being a sex trafficking survivor? Tell us that story.
Okay, so where do we start?
Mm,
So, one thing that I'm very candid about is, I didn't grow up in poverty. I didn't grow up even in the Northeast. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Charlotte, lots of land, plenty of things to do, plenty of resources. For all intents and purposes, I grew up with money.
okay,
We were a biracial family, Black and Hispanic, living in the South. Both of my parents had jobs, 9 to 5 jobs, and themselves got into entrepreneurship. My father slash sperm donor, I'll use those two interchangeably throughout
okay,
this podcast. And my mom had businesses, barbershops, clubs, and I saw this as a kid, which was eye-opening to me because we were already the anomalies, but then to be branching out into entrepreneurship in the what, 2005, 2006, this was very unheard of. So I grew up always not being able to fit myself nor my family in a box.
mm,
And then it was always a mystery of like who my parents were, even to this day. My mom's adopted, so that was always hard being able to tie my culture, my identity, my roots. So we leaned really heavy to my sperm donor side, which was his roots were in DC and in the South.
okay,
So that is what we relied heavily on. But then there was always this mystery of like, what happened before you were our dad, you were my
right,
dad. And things were pretty normal from the time I can remember up until about 7, 8 years old. Like we lived a very like lavish lifestyle. Like we were kids that got to drive in limos and get on planes and go across the country. And we lived around celebrities, professional athletes, and this was the norm for us. But inside our home, I was already starting to see physical abuse between my parents, alcohol, alcoholism from my dad. Um, my mom unfortunately got addicted to opioids because of the abuse that she was suffering from inside the home. So when those things started to happen, I felt myself living in like this double world because at the end of the day, when we stepped outside that house, we had this persona. We had this, we had to perform when we walked outside of the house because we stuck out like sore thumbs. And then we had this reputation of being, the tolerable, colored people, honestly, in the South. So it's like you can't do no wrong.
mhm,
So, I learned how to put the mask on to be the perfect student, be the perfect daughter, be the perfect athlete, be the perfect everything. And one, I knew that it was, to make sure that our family's name stayed in good standing.
right,
But for me, I learned how to be a people pleaser to hopefully not have to suffer the abuse.
mm,
I got spanked like every other kid probably has been.
mm,
And that was normal up until, 8, 9 years old. And then there was a turn where I didn't necessarily understand what happened on my sperm donor side. My mom at this point had already started experimenting with opioids. So she was in and out, not really present. I had to step up not only being the big sister, but also playing this mom role in the sense of making sure me and my brother had something to eat, making sure we got to school, making sure we got to sports practices and all of this. And what's told to me is, this builds character. This is what prepares you for life. But it was such a weird dynamic because we, on the outside looking in, grew up spoiled.
Right, right,
Yes, we had to work hard. We weren't spoiled brats. We understood the benefits of what hard work does and consistency.
right.
But in the sense of kind of like having your world ripped up from underneath you and like the drop of a hat, and not in the sense of, okay, parents lost their jobs, we have to go downsize.
Right, right, right.
It turns into a physical abuse from my dad towards me that crossed lines that at first I was just embarrassed.
Mm,
Like I said, I had gotten spanked before, but it got to a point where his anger was now being taken out on me like I was an actual man. I
mm.
was now getting close fist punched. I was getting thrown upstairs, dragged by my hair, all of because of an attitude or talking back, things like this that didn't make sense to me was the escalation.
Correct.
um but at the same time, this was a parent, this was someone in my life that was also building me up to be this person that didn't take anything from anyone. And as you can see how I look, you would be like, you? Like, yes, me, like a pit bull that wouldn't let go. That's what I was being raised to be. But to him, it was total submissiveness, not even in a child parent dynamic. It was like, you're my HOE,
Right.
and I started to understand that just based on how I saw him treat my mom.
Mhm.
And for me, that's how I dipped into the people pleasing nature. Well, okay, let me not talk back as much. Let me be perfect in school and perfect in sports. So there can be nothing in your head that would make you want to raise your hand at me again. And I remember there was this one instance where, I was being my regular talking back self.
Mhm.
Because for me, as a kid, I was very observant.
Mhm.
And I was very much, we are all on an all playing field. If you're disrespecting me, I'm disrespecting you back. I don't care about age, tenure, Mr., Mrs. I will tell you to go ahead, please and thank you, ma'am.
Right, right, right,
That's
right.
how I was. I'm gonna do it with respect, but I'm not gonna go for it.
Mhm.
And, I was having one of my moments at school with the teacher and, that call home. Once again, I was a straight A student, but especially when I was outside of my home, that was my time to release that anger
Right.
quick because once I was inside my home, I was bullied. It was a total different dynamic. So once I was outside of my house, the minute I thought you were testing me, disrespecting me, oh, I was in it. I would fight at the drop of a hat, and I would have coaches and teachers passing the principal's office having a double take like, why are you in the principal's office
Right. It didn't make sense.
fighting? And it didn't matter, girl, boy. I was I was out of control in the sense of my emotional control
Mhm.
because at home I had no space to be a kid. I was expected to be an adult, so I did not have that natural release of they just being a kid. I didn't get that at all. So when I was outside, it was Big Bad Benzii is on the street
Right.
because that was my way of like reclaiming my ground because I didn't know what to do. I was just spinning out of control, but I knew I had to control it because I still had to do well in school. I still had to appease these people that I knew would circle back around. And, the telephone game, it's the South,
Right. Yeah.
word gets around very quickly. And the last thing that you wanted to be labeled as a kid in the South is you didn't want to be a bad kid,
Mhm.
you didn't want to be a dumb kid, and you didn't want to be a hoe or you didn't want to be fast.
Right, 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 right. You're right.
So I did the total opposite. even down to the point where I immersed myself in male dominated sports and aimed to be the best because I wanted to show that I was different in that sense. I already knew that I was pretty,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. And I already understood the attention that I was getting. And in the South, like I said, you get labeled fast and a hoe by noon. By noon, by lunchtime,
Right.
yeah, Benzii was in the bleachers kissing a boy. And it's like, what?
Right.
Okay. So that was the rumor that got around. And my sperm donor, and I'm sure a lot of us can understand the sentiment of you're talking to your parent on the phone and they say, when I get home,
Right.
your butt is mine. Mine.
Yeah.
And we were accustomed to that. We were literally accustomed to when we heard that garage door open and a car coming in, go ahead, go upstairs, do what you got to do, be ready for that whooping. So I was prepared. I
Mhm.
already had the phone conversation. I was like, fine, fine.
Mhm.
And this particular time, I was told to take all my clothes off. Now, everyone knows a beating is you're supposed to feel the pain, you're supposed to, be scared. I was not feeling any of that. I was feeling disgusted. I was feeling embarrassed. I'm like, this is my dad. And at this point I developed, I'm pretty petite, but I developed quickly. So
Right.
like by fifth, sixth grade, I already had a period, already had boobs, already started to get a little butt and hips. So and I saw this,
Mhm.
so I'm like taking my clothes off.
Right, right, right.
So, I let that happen. I go to school the next day, and I guess this is where you can say my other side kicks in because I went and told.
Right. Good for you.
Because I was like, absolutely, at that age, I was like, this is not right. There has to be a barrier where discipline and like,
Yeah,
embarrassment and all and degrading, especially when it comes to a child, there has to be some sort of a line.
absolutely.
Um, so I told my counselor, and being a counselor, you're a mandated reporter. So, you then have to call your DSS, your CPS, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
So that afternoon, CPS Charlotte Mecklenburg was at my house.
Okay. Good.
Right. But I'm scared at the same time because I'm like, that's something you don't do that in
Yeah.
non-white households. You don't we don't do that. Don't do that. But so for me, I was like, well, we just gonna see. We gonna see. And I remember seeing the little white car with the decal pull up. I knew exactly what was going on.
Okay.
I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't see anyone. I heard little murmurs, little laughs, and that little lady was gone within 10 minutes.
Didn't talk to
So,
you. Didn't.
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. So, in my head, I'm like, oh, I messed up. I messed up real good.
Yeah.
And within 10 minutes of that lady leaving, I was getting prepared for my whooping.
Right.
And I was directed to do the same thing I was directed to do the first time, which was take my clothes off. And then this time was the first time he sexually assaulted me.
Wait, can I just stop
Now,
there just
yes.
1 second?
Yeah.
Do you know what that conversation was? Like, how did she not touch base with you?
No, I heard laughs, giggles, and this is why I explain how I grew up. I grew up in a very ritzy town in Charlotte, North Carolina. So when you see a black man and a woman that is not black that living very well, three cars in the yard, big house, yard, full, fridge full of food, these departments and these systems are taught to look for things that now predators are aware of. We know that our house can't look a mess because that's a red flag. We know that our fridge can't be empty. That's a red flag. We know that our kids cannot go to school with visible marks on their face and their bodies because that is a red flag. So I learned after that moment, this entity, this man is kind of untouchable.
Yeah.
Because I came to realize I was a very nosy kid, and I was one that was like, not to say that we did not have the capabilities to live amongst these other people like how we were, but
Mhm.
I'm like, what man from Washington, D.C. has now made his way to live in the most richest part of the Carolinas?
Right. Right.
Let's put two and two together. So,
Right.
I found out that, my sperm donor was, a nice dealer in DC. And the people that he was doing this with were, the uncles and, the aunts of the family. And at the end of the day, I say, listen, you do what you got to do.
Right.
I appreciated when I learned that this money and all this was how these businesses and these barbershops, and because I was like, you know what? We all got to start from somewhere.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. At that point, I wasn't looking at him as a criminal.
Okay.
When he assaulted me for the first time, there were no feelings for me like he liked this. And I always say that because I was someone that learned very early on how to read energy. And I never got a pleasing energy from him.
Mhm. Mhm.
But what I did get was fear,
Mhm.
control, and very manipulative. Because the way that things would snap back to reality, like what just happened didn't just happen, threw me off.
Mm.
And the worse my mom got, the worse
Yeah.
him and I interactions got.
Mm.
And she finally left,
Wow.
took our only car, left, told us she was going to the grocery store, and never came back.
Benzii, that's wild because that's something that you hear sort of not like as a joke, but like I've heard older people say, "Oh, so and so was going to the grocery store, never came back," not knowing that's an actual thing.
Changed her number and everything. We found out that she was, and now this was before I had any inkling that I was going to be up here in Philadelphia, but she had made her way up to Jersey. And the only reason why we found out was because the Easy Pass tolls got sent back to the house. And we were
Wow.
like, okay,
How did that make you feel? Your mom left you.
you know what? And this was the thing. There, because her and I were closer in age, because she had me so young, there was always this butting heads. We I wouldn't say we never got along, but it was never mommy and me.
Okay.
But I will say when I realized how wrongly she was being treated, because I will say my mom was the best mom. She was the top tier mom. She was the parent teacher mom. She was that mom. And I always say that those first like 8, 9, 10 years, solid, very solid. But after I realized how much she had been going through,
Mhm.
even before she was pregnant with me, I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It was really you or us, or
Right.
I'm sorry, you or him in the sense of their lives.
Right.
I had seen her point a firearm at him
Mhm.
in the middle of their fights.
Mhm.
And there were moments where I was getting into the middle of their physical fights and defending her. Because, granted, did I like the fact that she was abusing drugs in front of me and me literally having to step into her shoes and I just saw the life draining from her by the hour?
Yeah.
That created so much resentment within me because I'm like, I'm supposed to be a kid right now. living my life. And I was at certain moments, but even in those great moments, reality would hit me still in those moments. Like, your mom is over there high as hell. Like these great moments sitting on the basketball court of Charlotte Bobcat games, floor seats, but knowing that your dad just effed your mom in that car on the way to that game.
Wow.
And then having to sit there, the tension of what's going to happen after this game, what's going to happen tonight. Like that is literally what our lives were every day. The best moments I can say were when I was at school and at any sort of practice. And that's why I immersed myself in so much and I dedicated myself to sports and academics because I said, this is going to be my way out.
Right.
And I realized that like that was really set in stone for me when we had to leave Charlotte after my mom left, because my mom was the breadwinner of the family at the end of the day. She made the most money. She was the one that was able to keep everything together. So when she left, it was like,
Right. What's
well,
going
we
on?
can't stay here anymore.
Yeah.
So my sperm donor has roots in the South, like right outside the Myrtle Beach area
Okay.
in Florence. That's where his mom was. So we moved down there, and that's when I really started to see the true side of him. I
Mhm.
saw how manipulative he was with women. We lived with his mom for maybe a month, and within a month he had found a new girlfriend, was able to talk this woman into getting a house, and we was moving into that house in 2 months.
Wow. Smooth.
And while he was with this woman, was still entertaining other women
Mm-hmm.
that I saw.
Right.
I was very nosy. At this point, I needed to know what I was dealing with because
Mhm.
I said, this is not normal.
Yeah.
And and this is when I really started to understand what he was doing.
Mhm.
So when we finally got settled in Florence with this random woman that we barely knew,
Yeah.
he then introduced us to this guy that was our new uncle.
Mhm.
And they had hit it off so well because apparently they were from the same city, same town that they were in DC.
Okay.
Okay, great, great. My sperm donor goes and gets a new job and an apartment 2.5 hours away and says, you guys are gonna listen to Uncle R and your
Sweetie.
stepmom, and I'll see you guys on the weekend. Now there was a half of me was like, okay, bet, because I don't really like you anyway.
Facts. Okay.
And then there's another part of me that was like, I don't know this town. I don't know this woman. I don't know this man, but I'm supposed to just trust these people with my life. And I can say the only thing that worked in my benefit at that point in time is that I had a car and a license.
Okay.
So I could kind of maneuver my way around in this little teeny town that I was not familiar with, and just worry about my brother, and just on Saturdays see this my dad for 48 hours. So it got to the point where I ended up babysitting my new uncle's younger kids,
Okay.
things like that, and everything was fine. I was getting to know him, asking him all these questions and things like that. And there was one day where he had asked me to help him iron his clothes because he was going out on a date that night with his wife. Yes, this man was married with like 5 kids. Um, Long story short, he ended up holding me hostage in that bedroom, assaulting me and getting me pregnant.
Benzii.
Ta-da! Now, how I found this out was I was in basketball season at the current time. And me, I that was my main sport. I was a baller. That's what I originally wanted to be. I wanted to be a pro basketball player.
Really? Okay.
So I was realizing like, why are these girls beating me? in sprints. Why do I feel fat?
Mm.
And I was like, hmm. I walked right across the street to that Walmart
Yeah.
on my lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in the Walmart bathroom, like, because I knew exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And shout out to the South being somewhere where you can go find a little 1, 2 snip, snip shop and don't need nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No shame
exactly
in it.
hmm?
No shame in it.
I was 15 years old,
And how
going on
old is he?
16, in his late 40s. Yeah. Yeah. I could have been one of yeah, his oldest kid was a year younger than me. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So that happened, and
Mhm.
I had to put my life into a perspective after I figured out how to hide it,
Yeah.
how to, you know, make sure that nothing was gonna happen to my body because I was scared.
Absolutely.
And once I, realized that I was okay, I was like, okay, I gotta shift gears here. Like, I have to get out of here. And that's when I started applying to colleges, because the thing was is that, oh yes, I was going to college, but I was supposed to go to college down there.
Okay.
He needed to be in arms grasp, driving grasps of me. So,
Yeah.
and that's what I did. So I applied to all these schools and also started to apply to other schools. And I got acceptance letters to like Villanova, UPenn, and St. Joe's was the only school that gave me a full ride scholarship tuition.
Amazing.
So I said, okay, cool. Hold on that. I went and photoshopped a college acceptance letter to UNC
Mhm.
Chapel Hill
Okay.
and made it seem like I was
Yeah.
going to UNC.
Yeah.
So I had found out what college I was going to like 6 months before graduation.
Okay.
So I was sitting, just sitting on the fact of like, okay, how am I going to get out of Charlotte now? Because I got to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I got in contact with my family member that was working at St. Joe's, and I was like, I didn't tell her too much, but I was just like, listen, can you get me a plane ticket?
Yeah.
I just need 2 suitcases. That's all I need. I don't need to go back. Once I'm up here, I'm up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was like a couple of days before my 18th birthday. And she was like, well, do you want to stay to celebrate your birthday? As soon, whatever date, book
It
that.
could be tomorrow. Right.
It was 2 days from our phone conversation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And the great thing about that was he worked third shift, my sperm donor. When I tell you, I was out that house before he could get back home.
I know that's right.
That's how I, you know, got out physically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I spent my 18th birthday in my dorm room. Like, I made it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think back to, all of it, even down to, we didn't touch on it, but I, through him ended up getting trafficked through brothels in the sticks of the South between the ages of 12 and 14. I had been assaulted by 40 men. Mhm.
As a parent, you're so did he I was gonna say as a parent, you're supposed to protect your child, but maybe he didn't view himself as a parent, as a father. I just
And it's so interesting because those I was literally just talking to my husband about this. I was like, I was in this I'm currently in this battle of it's so funny how karma works. So I know right now currently that he's back home in DC, basically homeless,
good.
right?
Mhm.
So I first was in this battle, internal battle of that's not enough. You
Mhm.
know, that's not enough suffering for me.
Mhm.
And then the second battle was, okay, I need to go see you
Mm.
because the questions that I need answers to are not why the physical assaults and sexual assaults. I between the advocacy work I do, the mission work that I do, my own, hospitalizations and my own mental health journey, I understand how he is a predator.
Okay.
What I need, well, I guess what I would like to have are the answers to why me in that fashion.
Mm.
Because this is where we break down, grooming,
Mm.
and that's literally what my whole first 17 years, well, I won't say 17 years, but I will say for a strong 10 years, that's what my life was. And it's not funny, but for a second, I understand how my mom got to the point where she got all the way up to the point where she couldn't handle it anymore.
Mhm.
And it's almost the question you have to ask yourself is how much of myself am I going to lose in this journey? And what am I willing to give up?
Mm.
And I saw both of them in real time have it all and then lose it all.
Right.
And that's what fueled me to get out because I said I have to go. I cannot be a replication of what I've seen my entire life up until this point. And not to say that it was all, once my plane landed in Philly, that it was just pip pip cheerio,
Right, right, right.
because it wasn't.
Right.
It's still not. I still struggle with things more mentally than anything,
Yeah.
just having to do with how my introductions were to those pivotal points in your development,
Mhm.
like my childhood gone,
Mm.
introduction into positive, healthy sexual relationships
Yes.
gone.
Yeah.
Like gone, 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 gone. Throw it out the window, wrap it up. And those are the things where I find myself getting that boiling fire feeling towards him when I realize that I'm meeting this wall in my 28-year-old body as a grown woman. Like, oh, I know where that comes from. And it gets me in a space where I'm angry, I'm disgusted, and I'm just like, it's you.
Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah.
But the fact that I'm able to acknowledge that and then figure out how to tackle it, I feel like that's the key. If you were to ask me, like, well, how have you got to this point?
Yes.
Is by slowly because it's such like it's such an ugly journey.
Mm.
It's not cute. This is not cute. I look cute right now, but it's
Yeah.
not cute to think about how you act in the present day and then you're like, oh, and it comes from that pile of crap.
Yeah.
And to know that I come from this, it's just like, just take me. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I
You're
don't want to think
redefining
about
it.
it. I don't want to. Hmm?
That's my bad. I just said, but you're redefining it. Like you can't help your DNA, but you're redefining everything.
And I think and that's why I had to finally start do I had to flip the narrative. I literally had to tell myself, yo, you're not going to be fixed in the way that you think you're going to be fixed.
Mm,
But there's another version of yourself that is going to thrive and can help people after you get through the ugly parts.
yeah,
And what I had to tell myself is that there's not going to be a perfect time to start telling your story, sharing your story, getting justice, doing advocacy, doing community. Like there's never a perfect time for this. Sometimes I do question myself, like, well, am I in the best spot to be doing this right now? And
yeah,
sometimes I tell myself, like, nah, I'm not. But why? And I break that down.
yeah,
Why do I feel like I'm not in this in this spot? And sometimes that just means, okay, well, maybe I just need to, you know, work with a better therapist
yeah,
or, take a break. And that's something that you have definitely told me a lot of people, all my girls told me I need to relax. And my husband, y'all are the best. But even it's that. And this month, all of y'all have been in my ears. Like, and I have taken a lot of breaks this month. With it being Trafficking Awareness Month, which is crazy because the end of December was coming up, and I was like, "All right, everybody's all holly jolly, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and here go Benzii." Did you know that 1 in 3?
it's not funny, but right, right.
No, it is funny, and that's another thing too. Is that like there has to be I told myself that I never saw someone like me
Mhm.
growing up, which is why I was like, I gotta do this.
Yeah,
Because if I would have stayed in that mindset of, well, who do I follow? Well, who can be my mentor? Well, who? I would still be stuck down there. And I will say, I did have people, and they were mostly teachers, coaches, my friends' parents that that when you know something about somebody, they haven't told you, but and it's just like, I see what you got. That's the energy that I've gotten all my life from those good people. And it sucked because I wanted to tell them everything. But it was almost like I want to spare you your life, your mental, your family, because another thing that was a good tactic of my sperm donors was to destroy any type of support circle, any healthy bonding. Like, I did not have friends that came over the house. We
right.
were not allowed to go over other people's houses. But, like I said, once again, I did not go without. So, best believe, yes, I had a pool table in my house. I had things that a lot of kids would dream to have in their homes growing up as a kid.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, when your head getting smacked on that pool table, when you getting thrown up these mansion stairs, is it worth it?
no,
When you're seeing your mom drugged out across from you because she just can't take it anymore, I put me in a box.
yeah,
Put me in a box, please.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And because of the access that I had, I feel like is what saved me as well.
mhm,
I wasn't around people in my community you know, that were not smart,
yeah,
that did not have intestinal fortitude. And I say that is what I seeked out because I refused to believe, even back then, that there were not good people in this world.
mhm,
I was
mm,
around them all the time. I just had to figure out how to stay in that pocket.
wow,
And that was my whole life, was a strategy. Like being a kid operating in this mindset of how do I not only outsmart adults, but how do I outsmart deviant adults?
Wow. That's a book title.
And that was my main reasoning for wanting to go and major in criminal justice.
Yeah.
It was my goal to become an attorney to defend women who have gone through situations like mine, because it is a whole different ball game when you are sitting in that courtroom
Mm.
and having to make someone believe the words that I'm coming out of my mouth that I'm telling you right now. And then to have these people not even know you,
Right.
and these are the ones that are deciding your fate,
Mm. Mhm.
and it could go either way.
Mm. Right.
And that's a journey that I went on right before the pandemic, because my thing was, I grew up saying that I grew up with knowing that karma would do a way better job than I will ever do.
Wow.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I can't try.
Because that's what the question that was going to be.
And the Leo in me is like, I listen, you gonna beat me once, I'm gonna go lick my wounds and go retreat. But best believe when I come back,
Right.
it's not gonna be the same lion, that it's not gonna be the same one.
Right. Right.
And that's the journey that I went on. I was so focused on making sure that, I don't care if it was you just had to sit in that police department and just be questioned all day.
Mm.
Everybody's getting it.
Yeah.
Everybody. I
Yeah.
don't care that I'm in Philly now.
Yeah.
I don't care where I am. I'm coming back around to get mine.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Because the thing is, if I don't do it, what happens to the next girl who's going through the same situation? And that's why I decided to start my nonprofit. And it wasn't so much as, I want to, well, one day, hopefully, I hope to be able to like physically go and extract someone out of a situation. But in the meantime, it's a sense of creating space. It's a sense of breaking down stigmas, breaking down barriers, to where we don't feel afraid, we don't feel embarrassed, we don't feel like we are not worthy because of what we're going through. And also, it doesn't mean that we can't rebuild our lives, make a trajectory turn, like however many times you got to do it.
Yeah.
I done fell down again, fell down harder, stayed down there for a second, popped my head back up, went back down,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's the journey, that's what happens. And at the end of the day, I still went to sleep knowing that I was in a better position than I would have been if I stayed down there.
Right. Right.
And that's what people need to see,
Yeah.
because you either see the ones that unfortunately don't get a chance to have something to grab onto, positive. A lot of survivors of trauma and abuse unfortunately are addicts, high suicide rate,
Mm.
and or they're a recluse, they don't talk about their story. And everything that I excelled at,
Mm.
whether it was through academics or through sports, I said, I'm not just going to let this go to waste.
Right. Right.
Now, my original plans of wanting to be a professional athlete, maybe that's not there anymore, but I can still make something shake.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And to be honest, this route is way better, because the way that I came into fitness was so hard, and it was such a mask, honestly, for what I was going through.
Mhm.
And now I've been able to say, hey, this is how you can utilize this space to get back to you.
Yeah.
If you got to sit there, if you got to cry there, if you got whatever you got to do,
Yeah.
this is just where I did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So start here. And I realized there needs to be more of that. There needs to be more of that in the space of surviving trafficking, surviving assault, surviving domestic violence. You're still a person, more capable and more qualified than you were before. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take anything away. You don't depreciate.
Mm,
You're not a car. You're not.
mm,
And that's how I had to think about myself. I was like, you know what? I said, who cares? To be honest.
yeah.
And that's really how I had to start thinking. I was like, who cares if people don't like what I have to say about this?
Yeah.
And I knew that was something pivotal when I was going through my process of getting these people locked up. And I
Yeah.
had a woman reach out to me that was 10 years older than me that said, that guy did the same thing to me in a whole different state. I said, if this ain't the moment to create CS, I don't know what is.
Now, were you mad at her for not saying something prior? Or
Oh, that's a great question. Mm. I wasn't mad. I was I was just like, ooh, it was just like a
yeah.
maybe that could have got had him staying there longer
Yeah.
or something like that. But was I mad? No. I was just like, it was a validation for me at that time that made me feel like I wasn't lying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Either that I wasn't crazy or that it was something that I did to
Mhm.
make this man do this.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that we go through as women is that we start looking at ourselves like, well, what is it about me? And listen, I had a whole Britney Spears moment,
Yeah.
Nia, and chopped all of my hair off
Mhm.
twice
Mhm.
because I was like picking apart my body to not be noticed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like making I know it's gonna sound funny, but it's like making sure I go grocery shopping
Mhm.
after I go to the gym. So I make sure that I not only don't look clean, but I might not smell clean.
Understood. I get that.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
stuff like that is what
Yeah.
I started doing.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because my husband had to tell me, and he was like, listen, I'm not just saying this as your husband. He was like, but you could go outside in a paper bag and still get out there.
Yeah. 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 But let's talk about this though, because you have a husband. What is that like to love a man, trust a man after going through your experience?
Hard, hard. As hard as my head is. It's hard. It's very hard. And the thing about it is that I was a girl that, I always wanted a boyfriend. I think I told you I tried to have like a hot girl season and it lasted like a month and a half right before no, I had met him already actually and we were friends
Mhm.
and I was still trying to have a little hot girl moment.
Mhm. Look at you. Look at the see the rock. It didn't last.
It didn't. So I said that to say I always wanted that companionship. I always wanted
Yeah.
it. And I honestly thought it was going to be easy because of how badly I was treated and abused and everything. And I'm even talking about once I was up here trying to have like normal boyfriend girlfriend relationships in college.
Right.
Girl, that's a whole conversation for another day, but it wasn't good either. I
Yeah.
tried, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know why it wasn't good? It wasn't good because I wasn't healed.
Mm.
I was still looking for things that were not good for me. and I wasn't looking at the red flags. So that's why those relationships were not good for me. But I was still trying. I really was.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, it's very hard. It's hard up until this day because number one, I haven't had that many partners.
Yeah.
Him and I have been together for almost 10 years. And before that, I had like 3 boyfriends.
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about sexual experiences because that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you want to talk about actual consensual relationships, like getting to know a person, I didn't have many experiences beforehand, and they were bad.
Yeah.
But then meeting him was like, okay,
This is
this is
how it's
good.
supposed to be.
This is good. But now I realize I'm the problem.
Wow.
And it's not so much as me, the person, it's the trauma.
Correct.
It's, it's what sometimes subconsciously I don't even know that's what's going on.
Yeah.
So I either make my job harder or easier on myself. I've made my job super, super hard and have made it even harder on him, trying to deny, trying to deflect, trying to be big dog, like nothing don't phase me and I'm all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in this space now where I am actively trying to make not only my job easier or his job easier, but just like our relationship, our marriage easier,
Beautiful.
and I don't know what made him choose me. I don't know. Maybe you could ask him one day.
I do know because you're amazing. From your entire story of
I wasn't like this. I wasn't like this almost. Girl, I
but
wasn't always.
he saw the core in you though.
Okay, I'll take that one. I'll drink to that. And to answer your question, yes, this is one of my new concoctions that I'm trying out.
I love it. But he saw the core in you. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
And you are, but you, so this right here took a lot of work. But even in your words, like you knew something wasn't right. You knew you had to tell. You knew you had to get out of the situation. Like at such a young age, you were very mature and you knew a lot. That don't happen.
Yeah. Because you know what? I will say being a Leo worked to my benefit so much as a kid because I will say I knew I was the shit
Yeah.
as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I stepped outside of that house, of course I remembered the bravado and that pit bull nature of don't let anybody F with you that was taught and instilled and forced in me.
Right.
But the natural side of me that has people just gravitate towards me or have people say something like, you're going to be the president of the United States one day. Those messages, I had no choice but to ride on that as hard as I did. And yeah, if you were to ask somebody that knew me back then, they probably would say that I was one cocky little girl.
That's
I
fine.
sure was. Because that I needed to be.
To survive, yes.
I sure did. And it's something that I'm still learning to let go because as I have healed and as I'm coming out of my hibernation, as I like to call it, I'm in this space where people are like, girl, if you don't pop, you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, no. It's I remember that feeling, and I remember how how it landed negatively for people more than it did positively.
Sure.
And the space that I'm in now, that's the last thing that I want anybody to think, is that, she's cocky or she's so full of herself, and someone might say, well, she is. And that's cool. And I love that, because if you're saying that about me, I'm all good.
Yeah.
But I sometimes refuse to, because I've been there and I've done that. Now,
Yeah.
will I say, have I done it in I don't know, like, it doesn't seem necessary anymore, if that makes sense.
Mm,
That's what it is. I don't feel the need to do it. In spaces where I feel like I might need to do it, it's already being done for me.
mm.
When it's crazy, because when I'm out here trying to grocery shop for meal preps late on a Saturday night after being out all day, and I hear somebody say, "Did I see you on the news?"
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like kind of my life now, where it's like, oh, I I don't gotta I don't gotta pop nothing. They popping it for me, even when I don't want to hear it. Man, I'm trying to get these groceries. I have people trying to book training sessions, gun classes. They try to tell me their life story in the grocery store, and I'm like,
But that's
but
how
you
impactful you are.
and this is what I wanted. I said I wanted people to treat me like a regular person.
Yeah.
When I got to the point where I was sharing my story, and whatever title people want to call me, a celebrity, an influencer, I hate all of them, but whatever you want to call me, I wanted people to say, at the end of the day, if you catch her out in the street, or if you
Yeah.
see her, she's gonna say hi. It might be short, it might be quick, but she's definitely gonna sit there and she's gonna talk to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
no matter what's going on. And that is how I am.
Mm.
Does it get on my nerves sometimes? Because I'm like, yes, like, girl, I've gotten stopped at the gas station just trying to get some gas. And this woman says, "Oh my God, you're the one that your dad raped you."
Oh no. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't land. Yeah.
But you know what? That's when I say that's exactly why I'm bringing the education and the awareness, because people want to talk about it. People know what's going on.
Yeah. That's true.
The fact that she didn't know how to communicate it, maybe not in the best way,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm healed enough in that part to know that, she wasn't doing anything but just being like,
I know you.
and thank you for sharing your story. Now, how can I be upset about that?
Yeah. Understood.
So, or even if it's understanding now where my true power lies. And that took a while, and I'm still understanding it. I'm still learning it, because in spaces where I really feel like, oh, I might need to get at you. And
Yeah.
I've had those come up, and it's that old Benzii, that old Mercedes on that shoulder. Like, if you think because I'm married now and I'm trying to work on myself now, that I won't work on you.
You said I could work on both at the same time.
Listen, I'm ambidextrous. We could get it popping. But I had a conversation literally with a young woman the event that I saw you out on Saturday, and I was telling her, we were talking about these internal battles and talking about how good that release. Listen, I had a situation the other day that I slipped into, and I shouldn't have slipped into it. But a trigger sometimes that you don't know might not be healed all the way. It but
Yeah.
the thing is, you gotta catch it, you gotta understand, take accountability, and then you gotta go into that work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where I'm at now, is understanding that I'm still a human being, and I'm still someone that has gone through a bunch of crap.
Yes.
And I'm still young-ish.
You are not 30 yet. Yes.
I'm young-ish. Time is flying. Time's flying when you're having fun. Um, but no, I still know that I have a lot to learn. I try not to put so much pressure on myself because of how great my brain works at maybe building a business or bridging the gap, or but then when I get to, okay, let's work on your brain, let's work on your mental health, and then I act like a second grader. But it's just understanding those parts of myself where it's like, you know what, you missed that period, that's why you're acting like that, but let's get it together because you're now 28 years old. Okay, let's put those big girl panties on and let's act like you're 28.
But be kind to yourself too, because like you said, those were the parts that you missed. So it's okay to be kind to yourself.
Yes, yes. Because I'm in this mode now, understand, like, I don't want to have any kids. I'm okay with that. And the reason why I'm okay with that is because I'm now starting to acquire all these nieces and nephews and godchildren to where I'm like, you know what? I ain't gonna need to have no blood children. It's fine. But I said that to say is that I'm in that space now where I have kids looking at me like, this is the model. We're looking to you for advice. They're following me on Instagram. We're there. I'm TT Benzii now. I'm there. And I'm like, okay, this is where the real work is at now. They need me. It feels like I was just there in their spot. I'm like, I was just there. It just was like yesterday I was just in your shoes. But that just shows you, one, how much can happen, and you don't have time to waste. And that is one thing that I told myself. I kept telling myself that is that, girl, you don't have no time to waste in these sticks with these country deviant, slow people. You gotta go.
You need a TV
You
show.
got, you got to go. The kissing cousins ain't for you, girl. You got to go.
TV show.
I know I do. But it's real. It's so real. And I can laugh about it and be light about it because now, well, I know I'm not the only one. And for a while I felt like no one was going to believe me because this story sounds like Lifetime could have wrote it.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I switched gears from wanting to be an actual attorney and actually getting into this community work, because that is where it's going on.
Your boots on
And the boots on ground, and that's where the prevention happens.
ground.
If I'm in a suit and tie behind my desk, that problem has already happened. It's already happened. So I'm gonna trade these Louboutins in for these Timberlands, and we're gonna get to stepping because
Love it. I love it because you're saving lives. Now,
yeah.
now that you're on this side, have you wanted to or spoken to your mom? Are you still in contact with your brother? Tell us about that because I know people are like thinking, what's going on with mom and brother?
Yeah. So me and my brother we're always thick as thieves. Like, always. He's literally my literal twin, only 2 years younger than me, but literally looks exactly like me, hair and everything. And that was my dog. Day one. People thought we were twin girls up until I was in like middle school, like legit. And he is a little on the spectrum in certain senses, in certain spaces, but a literal genius. So his brain received his childhood in a sense where now he's very secluded, to where he's very protective of his energy, to the point where he's like, it's you and like maybe another person I talk to, and that's it,
I can dig it.
and for me, I had to work through being so upset about it because thinking that it's like me. It's like you had all this potential and then it's broken by this deviant. We're not doing that. Because that was me. That's how I went about it. I was like, nah, we're not doing that. I will be damned if I don't go reach my full potential because of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Please. Like, that's really like, please. But with him, it's different.
Mhm.
His peace is so much more important to him and his disassociation from that once he left and me and my husband got him up out of there. Once he was out of there, he was like, I'm good. I want to grow my flowers and my plants and my trees and feed my squirrels and learn how to fly planes and I'm good.
Love that. And that's okay. Yeah.
And that's fine. And I'm learning now as we get older and as I see him just becoming more of a man, like, okay, I love that. Now, if you want to talk about my mom, that she is someone who I gave so much grace to up until maybe about a month or two ago because I understood her journey because our journeys are so much alike.
Mhm.
And I said, you know what? Maybe my place now is to help you get on board. I'm letting go the anger of you deserting me and leaving me with this monster and even the hands that you had and not stopping this stuff,
Yeah.
and we had our moments of, more so me than her, yelling, getting upset, cussing her out. And that's when I started to learn that, you gotta, if you really want answers, if you really want this breakthrough, you're gonna have to come at her like how you would want someone to come at you.
Right.
And we were working with that. And one thing about me is that because of what I've been through, girl, we Nia, you can still, girl, you could do a lot. Okay, you could do a lot, but if you could talk to me about it, and I feel like you're honest and genuine, we can get through it. We can get through it. So that's how I was with her. I'm like, listen, and I told her this, like, I am not in the position anymore to be angry at you. I said, I have turned my life around. Like, this is where I'm at. So, like, for the sake of what's left of our family, like, let's just baby step this,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And what I came to find, what I have come to find out
Mhm.
is that she's still doing her same thing, scheming, scamming.
Okay.
And how I found out about it was I got a call from her current landlord asking if I was okay. Actually, he called my husband's cell phone number. He
Mhm.
called my husband's cell phone number asking if I was okay. My husband's like, well, who is this? Well, I'm so and so's landlord, my
Mhm.
mom's landlord. Okay.
Yeah.
My mother concocted this story that she had to go to Colombia because my husband killed me.
Wow.
You hear me?
Okay.
Killed me.
Wow.
And that she had to go help with the funeral arrangements, which is why she wasn't able to pay her rent.
Wow. Killed her
This
child.
just happened like 2 months ago. So you know me, Miss Leo was like, "Oh, we got to talk about this."
Yeah.
Because what?
Yeah.
And we went like 2 weeks, kind of going back and forth. Like, I'm gonna need more from you than just, "Oh, I didn't know what to say. I was in a bad position." I'm gonna need more
Yeah.
because I'm a mindset person. You gotta tell me where your mindset was at to concoct that lie because I know a lot of us on here listening have told some sort of lie at your job. Somebody had a funeral, somebody in the hospital, somebody. We all done did it. But to kill your daughter? And usually, I know we usually kill people off that we don't usually like. You know what I mean? Or that's just non existent. If you never had a grandma and you say, oh, my grandma died, okay, all right, all right. You got a deadbeat dad and everybody in your life, oh, I gotta go to my dad's funeral.
Correct.
Feel you.
Correct.
But ma'am, we are currently trying to rebuild our relationship. I done gave you about 10, like, I done give you so many chances. And we are currently in this process. You literally just told me a couple days ago everything was good and everything was fine. So, and my husband really had to push me in this moment. He said, you know what you're going to have to do? He said, you're going to have to force this head on and to tell her that if she cannot have a real conversation with you about this, that there cannot be any more contact.
Yeah.
And I had to sit on what he said to me for a couple of days because I'm someone where, because I've made so many rash decisions in the past, I get anxious now when I feel like a rash decision has to be made. So I sit on it even longer.
Yeah.
So I sat on it for like 3 days. And on that third day, she texts me
Mm.
and she said, basically, I haven't heard from you, but I just wanted to say that I'm sorry and I'm ready to move past this. Oh, you just made my job so much easier. So,
Hmm.
that conversation went a little like, you don't take any accountability. I don't know how you could just text my phone after 3 days saying that you would just like to move past something. I said, but you literally just made my job so easy right now. I said, please do not contact me ever again. I said, whatever has to do with my brother, I'll make sure I find out, like how I always do. I said, I'm very resourceful, as you know. I said, please keep my name out your mouth because I'm really building something of substance and I'd like to leave a legacy of positivity, unlike you. I said, oh, and by the way, I would be a little smarter on your lies since your daughter is on the news every month.
And articles and Instagram and websites and
Like, ma'am, if you're going to lie good, please. And please lie to where no one could find me that fast.
in the midst of all of this, you still have the time. You mentioned your nonprofit. You're
Mhm.
drinking your juices that you've created that are nutritious and healthy and phenomenal.
Mhm.
You personal train. You teach
Mhm.
women boxing. How? How do you have 37 hats?
I don't I don't look at it that, I don't look at it that way.
Mhm.
This is this was what saved me. This was like everything that I'm building is are the healthy parts of my childhood and physical manifestation. I don't see any more, what do you call them? Rec centers. What happened to the rec centers?
Yeah.
Girl, the rec center saved my life.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, the YMCA letting kids work out at the age of 12, that saved my life. There are so many things where, because of me not growing up here in this region,
Mhm.
I bring what I can from my roots that worked, and I, put a little Benzii spice on it.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I realized when I came up here, and it used to hurt my feelings so bad, so much, is, I was a yes, ma'am, thank you, ma'am, yes, please. Oh, no, thank you. Oh, may I, can I? Oh, I eat. And the looks that I was getting from people like, What is wrong with her?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just so hard and spiky and smile, please."
It's
Like,
an
oh
energy.
my gosh.
Mhm, mhm,
And I realized that I just have something in me that just hasn't left.
yeah, yeah,
And I said, okay, well, let's see what spaces we can create in real time, because this is what helped me. No, it's not going to help everyone, but I don't see it going on up here, so we're going to do it.
yeah. And it is helping. It is helping. All of your clients with being able to complain but work out, to be able to partake of your juices and your meal prepping, and the girls and the women that you are helping, and all the spaces that you are in, the interviews, the podcast, the this and the third, you are helping. So it is needed. You needed to be
Mm,
up here.
yeah. And it's oof, it's been rough. It's been so rough. And it's been so funny that my 10th year in Philly has been easy in the sense of whatever I want to do now, I can do it. I remember my mission has never changed. I I go through emails of when I was back in college of these business plans and sending stuff to myself and being like, I'm doing that now. And I remember it's so funny when you see a DM pop up from someone and they're asking you for something, but you remember, you scroll up a little bit and you see that your last message from about 6, 7 years ago wasn't answered.
Shut up, Benzii. Wow.
That's girl, that has been, and you saw it Saturday. This 10th year in Philly has been like showing me that I didn't need
Mm,
who I thought I needed,
mm,
what I thought I needed, and to know that, like I told you, I don't need to step into these spaces when I see these people like back up is Benzii. I got a community that be like, move, because Benzii is about to walk through right now. And if you step,
yeah,
you gonna get bowed by these strong ass arms that she be working me out. Like, that's what
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
I got like it's crazy that I have a community of women that speak my name in rooms. And then I get into these spaces where I see these people and I'm just like,
Mhm,
yeah, could have been here, could have been did this
mhm,
5 years ago.
yeah,
But what, was I too young? Was
mm,
it not? Was it because I wasn't a Philadelphia native?
mm,
Listen, I don't care where I go. Because truth be told, I don't, I'm not going to stay planted because what I do is needed everywhere.
internationally.
So
Yeah.
best believe wherever I am, it's going to be the same thing. So we can either do this together or you can watch me do it,
Mhm,
because it's going to get done regardless. And I promise you, it's going to get done. It
yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
always does. It might take a year, it might take a month, but it's going to get done. And when it happens, you're not going to stop hearing about it. And you're going to be like, damn, we should have, yeah, you should have,
Yeah.
but you didn't.
Mm. And you know what? They
And
really
now that I know that I'm able to do this with what I got right now,
Mhm.
it's like, I've been had it.
Mhm.
But it was the little Southern girl in me that was like, oh, happy joy family, we gonna do this together. And I have, you gotta find your tribe. And I found my tribe. It's just what I expected was a little bit more embracement from my girls and my women, especially because, I am younger. So these people that I was reaching out to, it's like, well, it's like a auntie, like that. And that is one thing that made it very upsetting for me back then was that I was looking for that healthy female connection, that guidance, because I never had it. I was up here riding solo dolo.
Mhm.
I always been.
Yeah.
And to be raised by a deviant man for most of my life,
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, I need some womans.
Yeah.
I need some girls.
Yeah.
I need something, and it was very upsetting to be 20, 21 years old, 22 at these networking events and just kind of getting,
Yeah.
you know, because I was like, I'm not even like if business don't happen. But at the end of the day, I'm just looking for a connection because I need it. I'm in a healing journey.
Yeah.
Maybe you can teach me something because I'm in a space where I need to learn. I don't know this city. Girl, I don't know nothing about running. I didn't know nothing about running no businesses. I
Yeah.
ain't go to school for business.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to do was link up with women in business that looked like they had been doing this for a minute. So I was like, okay, cool. Show me, please.
But
It's
now,
okay. I figured it out.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, love.
I was gonna say, no, I figured it out.
Yes, and now,
I figured it out. I think I'm doing pretty well.
and now you're in a position to help those who need the help, who are seeking guidance, who are seeking mentorship. The
And
same
I
with
love that.
yep.
I have so many girls that are like, Benzii, I'm about to quit this job. And I'm like, all right, hold on.
Let's set something up.
Before before you quit that job,
Yeah.
let's do this. But I love the fact that they are feeling like they can do something like put chuck up to do so to that job that doesn't care about you, that's not paying you what you're worth, that's not caring about your mental health. Because you see what I'm doing. Now, it's gonna be harder. You probably gonna drive yourself a little bit more crazy than your boss was driving you, but it's rewarding as hell.
Yeah.
Like it is. But I love the opportunities that women see that are now open to them once they get in these certain spaces. No, I'm not saying I'm some Houdini like magician person, but like some people will call me annoyingly optimistic. And listen, that's one thing that I had to adopt at a young age because listen, to be pregnant at 15, but like there's just so many things that I had to go through that like I had to like be Delulu. Before Delulu was a thing, oh, I was Queen Delulu. I should be the poster child for delusional because amongst everything that I had was going through up until I left at 17, I was like, and I'm still gonna make it out.
Wow.
And I'm still gonna make it out.
Wow.
And I'm still gonna make it out.
And look at you now. Benzii, what's next for you? I mean,
Sleep. Get some sleep. No, what's next for me? What's next for me? What's next for me is to really substantiate where I've gotten myself and to really make a pathway to sustainability, whatever that looks like for women If that looks like you really getting into a corporate career that you really want to get into,
Mhm.
cool. If you don't, but
Mhm.
you have a lot of soft skills that you learned along the way, okay, you can do that. I've been approached by, I've been approached by law firms to come. I've been approached by so many different areas where, yeah, it might seem like that would be the next step for me to be in, but that's not what I want.
Mhm.
I enjoy the freedom of being able to give myself to whatever community I've created, whatever whenever I need to do it. And because I've been in situations where I've been tied down, whether that's been because of finances, because of abuse, I make sure that I have set myself up to where it's like, no, if I don't want to do it, it's not going to get done.
Yeah.
And I think more kids, more women in general just need to see what that looks like.
Understand.
I want it to be, you don't know where you're going to see me next,
Mhm.
because that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Mhm.
Because I've survived something that I wasn't supposed to survive, I'm not going to put myself into a space where I can't reach my full potential or make my full impact.
Mhm.
So who knows? Who knows? Reporter, author, trainer,
Yeah.
gym. I'm gonna keep going at the same rate, and whatever happens, happens. We'll figure it out when we get there. If I have to start hiring teams, we gonna hire teams. But until then, I put too much stress on myself trying to figure out what my next step is gonna be,
Yeah.
instead of sitting in that present moment and looking back and being like, well, have you seen what you're doing?
Yeah.
Stop always trying to jump to that and that. And I realize where that's come from.
Mhm.
My trauma, my survival. I've always had, before I could even feel planted, I was thinking about the next jump. I could not plant.
Right.
So now that I can plant, yeah, sometimes it does feel unfamiliar. Sometimes I do sit and I'm like, I ain't doing that. Ain't
Mhm.
nobody, I gotta do something. But I don't. I do not. I don't. And that's the reality of it. No one needs to be working all day, all night,
True.
365. No. How am I supposed to recharge up here?
That's so true.
Where is my space to ground myself? So, with that being said, girl, you can see me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can see me on Good Morning America tomorrow, or you can see me, you know, at a gym across the country. Who knows? Or I could just be sleeping in tomorrow and decide not to work.
I love it. I love it.
But just know, whatever I do next
Mhm.
is going to continue the mission, whether that is in fitness and wellness, whether that's in advocacy, whether that's in my being a, sports performance model, which we didn't really even talk about how I got into that, but there are no barriers. And that's why that was the mission behind my nonprofit. And as far as what we're going to provide, what are we going to do? Whatever we want to do. Why should, yes, we're servicing women who have gone through abuse and trauma, but that doesn't mean that we need to create barriers around what they want to do next.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, we got to run this back because you have so many buckets of of nuggets that you can teach. I mean, this is like we got to run this back. We need like 10 more episodes. Benzii, how can people reach out to you? Because I know they're like, okay, I need her to be a keynote speaker. I need her juice that they keep talking about. I need to work out. I need her food. I need her advocacy. I know a lot of girls that need her mentorship. Where can people reach out to you?
Okay, let's start here. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Benzii with two I's, no Y, Diaz with a Z. Okay. And from there, you can find my personal training company, Bodied by Benzii. You'll find my juicing company, Bodied Blends. You'll find my rehabilitation and flexologist company, True Body Rehab. You'll find my nonprofit, See Us Foundation, and you will find my firearm protection and security service, Heels and Shells. If you want to book me for anything, DM me. I answer my DMs. I ain't bougie. If you want to email me, I am Benzii Diaz at gmail.com. What else? I think that's it. But hit me up, follow me, DM me. We not doing that over here. I don't answer DMs. Send that DM, and now I might not get right back to you, but I will get back to you. Okay.
Okay. Here's another comedian because you are hilarious. Okay.
Am I really?
You are.
So I got to tell my husband that I'm funny because he tells me I'm not funny.
That's because he's your husband. Husbands never think their wives are funny. You're hilarious.
I think I have a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I don't mind making fun of myself. And I think that's funny. People can laugh at me. It's fine.
But like all jokes aside, through everything, this is my last question to you. And everything that you've been through, all of the hats that you wear, the growth that you're going through, your journey, who do you say you are?
Ooh. You got something you can insert where it be like, doo, 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 doo. Dang, who am I? I'm just a girl. It's like, no.
And you're not funny. Okay.
Who am I? I'm an anomaly. Like, but I'm just me. Like, no, seriously, I am just a girl. I'm just a girl who refused to give up. Plain and simple. Like, I don't like the word anomaly because we all have the capabilities. And that's one reason why a lot of people ask me, why aren't you a mindset coach, or why? Because I had a very personal experience, and my way of survival was not the healthiest. And I'm still breaking myself out of those habits. And I will say, maybe the anomaly part about me is the way that I went about getting out. Now, that is an anomaly within itself, but to call myself an anomaly, no, like, no, what is different about me? The fact that I went through some crazy, nasty ish, and a lot of other women have as well, and kids and men. So, in that sense, no, I'm not an anomaly. I am just a girl from Charlotte, North Carolina, that was like, there is a world that is bigger than better than this nasty kissing cousin crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I refused to let the trajectory and downfall and demise of someone else be my story before my story even started. I feel like my story is just now starting. So I'm just a girl. I'm just a little country girl in Philly. I'm a Southern John. That's what I am. I'm a Southern girl in Philly, just trying to make it happen.
Love it. I love it. You heard it. Benzii Diaz, you guys got to reach out. She is a keynote speaker. She is an advocate. She is a trainer. She is a nutritionist. She is a comedian. She is, and you know what? I'm going to say that you are an anomaly in that you are you, and there's nobody like you, you know?
Now that I'll give you. Ain't nobody like me, because what's going on up here? Mm-mm. But no, yeah, I appreciate you. I thank you for that. Thank you for having me. I know. Hold on, what time is it? Girl,
Listen,
this was good.
this is so good. And we're going to have you back because we need to talk about just everything else. I mean, your business strategies, your all of your business. I mean, yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
run it back, like, because there's so many nuggets that you need to share with the world. Yeah, we're gonna run it back. Thank you so much for
Can I ask when I'm going to see you in the gym again, or is that not for this right here?
that was
That's
so
not for
excellent.
this. Mm, okay, I
You
should
already
text
got
you about that.
you. Yep. At least y'all know she real. At least you know she real. Okay. So thank you for joining the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. I am your host, Nia Imani. And remember, Benzii, 2 Y's, no Y, Diaz. Bye-bye.
Hey, bye, people. Thank you for having me, Bill.
Thank you for joining us on the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. Remember, each conversation brings us closer to a world where compassion thrives. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's keep the heartbeat of humanity alive. Subscribe, share, and be a part of our journey to make a difference, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, be a blessing to others, and give agape love. God bless.